So we want to talk more broadly about earnings, but I want to talk to you about one stock in particular that's reporting its earnings this week, 3M. Industrial company, a lot of tariff exposure. They have industrial customers, consumer customers. How are you viewing this earnings report in particular? Or is there another earnings report that you see as kind of a read on what's going on in the market and the economy right now?
3M is one of my favorites because as you mentioned, their end demand is both commercial and consumer and touching a variety of different products all over the world. So if you want to get a good sort of finger on the pulse of macro, 3M is one of those names.
Yeah, so here's the other thing about them. They have to give guidance with the idea of this 100% tariff hanging over, whether it's going to happen or not November 1st. Obviously, it's going to happen after they report earnings. Do you think the way they handle that potential threat is going to give us some insight into how companies are looking at this? Because, again, as you mentioned, they have industrial exposure, consumer exposure, they import. I mean, just a wide range of uses.
I mean, from what we've seen over the last couple of quarters, we seem to be coalescing around a third, being a third of the tariffs are being eaten by the exporters to us, a third is being eaten by companies, and a third is being passed on in price. Mitigation is also a word that we hear a lot. Those companies that are able to mitigate up to a point, the tariffs, what they can't mitigate, what they have to pass on. But all in all, most of these tariffs are getting eaten by U.S. companies and U.S. consumers. And I want to see how that plays out if that ends up being correct in this quarter.
All right, you're also looking ahead to two transports names reporting. Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern. Obviously, Union Pacific is trying to acquire Norfolk Southern as well. You say you're interested in freight trends. What are you looking for? Peter, I can tell you, it's a freight recession. What else are you looking for?
Yeah, you're right. It's been a freight recession now going on 2.5+ years. We heard from J.B. Hunt last week on the freight side. They had a good quarter, but it was really all market share and execution. They reiterated that freight recession. So more color on that from the rails, even though the rails will do some more commodity type stuff like shipping coal and grains and so on. But at least they do also have a big auto business. And I want to hear what they have to say about how many cars they're shipping around the country.
All right. Speaking of cars, we get Tesla reporting its earnings as well. Does it provide a read of the other Mag 7 names, or do you see it as an outlier?
It is, and we know the valuation of Tesla is not necessarily reflective of their auto business, but more so of their robotaxi, hopes for humanoid robots, and so on. But at the same time, we also know that the cash flows of the auto business helps to finance the other things that the market is betting on. So we'll have to hear about that. And also the EV, the only EV business has been more challenged. And of course, that's what Tesla is in relative to hybrids, relative to internal combustion engines. So want to hear about that shrinking EV business of theirs.
All right, so we hit on some of the key reports this week, Peter, but give us the bottom line. What does this earnings season mean? Do we need to see big beats when it comes to earning to keep the rally going? Is coming in line when it comes to EPS and revenue good enough? What do you think investors are really focused on?
Well, there's no doubt that earnings will beat expectations about 75% of the time, as they always do. And I think that earnings are going to reflect a very bifurcated economy with strength in anything related to AI, upper income spending, as we heard from Amex, but then lower to middle income consumers are stretched. We heard that from Domino's Pizza. We talked about the manufacturing recession. Housing still is somewhat frozen. Global trade is relatively muted. So that macro is going to meet up with the micro, and I think they're going to tell the pretty same bifurcated story.